The worst deal in all history. That's the assessment of the AUKUS agreement by former Labor Prime Minister Paul Keating.
Overnight, Australia, the UK and the US struck a revamped agreement allowing for the transfer of US and UK Navy nuclear material to Australia. Critics have been quick to seize on it, warning the deal opens a so-called radioactive waste loophole. Let's go straight to Oliver Gordon in our Parliament House Bureau. Oliver, good morning. What do we know about this revamped agreement?
So this is a really significant moment on our quest to actually get our hands on these nuclear-powered submarines that we've signed up to receive as part of this massive $386 billion AUKUS deal. An agreement has been struck between the UK, Australia and the US to actually transfer nuclear naval material to Australia. Some Green groups are concerned by this agreement. They say it opens up a loophole that could see Australia becoming a nuclear waste dump, but the government insists that's not the case. Defence Minister Richard Marles, who's been in the US this week whilst this agreement has been finalised, says this is a foundational document and a key step towards us getting our hands on these nuclear submarines. Here's Richard Marles.
This underpins the provision of the Virginia-class submarines to Australia. This will underpin the provision of the nuclear reactors that will be manufactured at Rolls-Royce and put in the Australian-built nuclear-powered submarines in Adelaide. This document is the legal underpinning of our commitment to our international obligations. So it's a very significant step down the AUKUS path.
And Oliver, former Prime Minister Paul Keating has made a robust critique of this deal.
Paul Keating spoke to the 7:30 program last night. He's long been a critic of the AUKUS deal. He's previously described it as the worst deal in history. Last night he was speaking about another part of this agreement which will see more US troops cycling through Australia. He was critical of that, saying that we are becoming too reliant on the US and we don't need them for our defence as much as the Labor government at the moment thinks that we do. He had some pretty pointed comments on the 7:30 program last night. Here's Paul Keating.
The Albanese government, with in their policy, is likely to turn Australia into the 51st state of the United States. We're now defending the fact that we're in AUKUS. If we weren't in AUKUS, we wouldn't need to defend it. Let me amplify the point. That is, if we didn't have an aggressive ally, like the United States, aggressive to others in the region, there'd be nobody attacking Australia.
Paul Keating there. Oliver, thank you.
OK, so we will be heading to Paris very shortly for the latest on the Olympic Games. More medals for Australia. OK, Tom Maddox, you are there now. Is the Eiffel Tower? Yes, it is sparkly, yes, just as promised. Tom, hello again. OK, let's start with the huge effort from Moesha Johnson. She got a silver for Australia. Tell us all about it.
Yes, I've timed it perfectly, haven't I, for the Eiffel Tower to sparkle again, just at the top of the clock. Moesha Johnson sparkled in the open water today, Emma. It was a wonderful result for her in what is such a tough slog of an event. 10 Ks in open water, a marathon distance. Incredibly hard and very strong currents in the River Seine at the moment because it has been unseasonably wet of late. So tough conditions for Moesha, the 26-year-old from Tweed Heads in New South Wales. She led courageously the pack for most of the race, and then there was this sprint finish when unfortunately she couldn't quite hang on, pipped at the finish line by the Dutch woman Sharon van Rouwendaal. As I say, so many factors there. Moesha, we spoke to her earlier, she showed us the scratches on her arm from some sticks and some plants which were hanging out from a boat on the river, which they kept going by at each lap of the course. And then there was also, of course, the pollution, swallowing the water and the current. She had to hit the wall a couple of times to avoid swimming in that strong current. But a wonderful result from Moesha Johnson, and she spoke to the media a little bit earlier with that silver medal around her neck.
The current was, for us, that was always the bigger problem than the water quality. And especially the last week, it has been quite high again. So if you were watching, you would have seen on the way back we were right on the wall against the boats, and going under the river it was really strong as well. So it played a lot into the tactics. It was making sure that you weren't fighting the current. We really had to work with it and just keep your heart rate consistent as much as possible.
And Tom, in the men's kayak sprint, a silver and a sliver away from gold. Really dramatic final. Take us through it.
It was a photo finish, Emma, just 0.004 seconds separated Australia's men's kayak 4 team and the Germans. So the Germans ultimately just edged the Australian quartet out over that sprint distance of 500 metres. They had a poor start, the Australians, in this competition in the heats, and then recovered in the semi-finals to post an Olympic record time. So that really set themselves up, gave them the confidence going into that final. And one of the kayakers, Riley Fitzsimmons, said he was inspired to take up this sport after watching the Australians in 2012 at the London Olympics, and now he's hoping, after clinching silver himself in this team, that he too will inspire the next generation. Let's have a listen to these boys.
Yeah, we crossed the line and we knew that we were so close to being in that gold medal position, and it took a couple of seconds for us to realise that we were guaranteed a medal anyway, and then it was just playing a waiting game to see what that medal was going to be, and it ended up being silver. And for probably a split second, we were a little bit disappointed, but then we're Olympic medalists, so it's pretty cool.
Certainly is pretty cool. And Tom, plenty more action from day 13, including boxing that just wrapped up a little while ago.
Yes, a couple of boxing Olympic medalists too, Emma, in Charlie Senior and Caitlin Parker have won bronze medals in their respective bouts, so great news for Australian boxing. And great news for Australian women's water polo too. The Stingers have caused an upset over the defending champions, the Americans. It was a dramatic penalty shootout, Emma. They equalised in normal time to take it to the shootout, and then they won 6-5 in that shootout against the reigning champions in the USA. And yesterday, of course, if you remember, Emma, it was the men, the Sharks, who lost to the Americans in a penalty shootout. So now the women have reversed that result, and now they have a chance for a gold medal. They won gold in Sydney 24 years ago, and now they have a chance to do that again, taking on Spain in the final. And I just want to mention, in athletics, Jess Hull is running superbly and is a genuine medal contender in the final of the women's 1500 metres. Today, she ran in the semi-final, finishing in second, but looks very, very strong, and I would watch out for her, hopefully winning a rare medal for Australia on the track, Emma.
Oh, fingers crossed. So much to look forward to, Tom. Thank you. Okay, so after all of that action overnight, let's take a look at the medal tally. Australia remains on the podium. This is unbelievable. So Australia sits third, 18 gold, 14 silver, 12 bronze. So you've got the United States on top, China second, France, the host nation, is fourth, and rounding out the top 5 is Great Britain.
I think we've created a bit of a buffer there with France's, 4 gold medals behind us with only, 2 days to go. Even if France was to win, and worst case scenario, we didn't win any more gold medals. I don't think that'll be the case. I think we'll get at least 1 or 2 more. But worst case, we didn't win any more gold and France won 1 or 2, we'd still have third spot. That's the way I'm approaching it.
Regardless, it has been the most incredible games, and we should just be so proud.
Yeah, so proud indeed. Lots of other news around this morning. The direct Qantas service from Perth to London will be rerouted through Singapore as fears of airstrikes in the Middle East intensify. Several international airlines have redirected or suspended flights through the area in recent months. The return leg is unaffected by the changes, as are direct Qantas services from Perth to either Paris or Rome.
Instagram is allowing parents to sell photos and videos of children in bikinis, despite saying it stopped the practice. The ABC has found almost 50 accounts that allow people to subscribe for a fee for exclusive content of children, including several from Australia. The accounts are still active, despite Instagram owner Meta telling Four Corners in May that it had stopped the practice. Meta says it's taking action on the accounts when it becomes aware of them, and enforcement can take time to fully roll out.
A new doctor training program in Queensland is looking to ease new doctors into remote regional practice through a hybrid model. The collaboration between the state's Northwest Hospital and Health Service and the Royal Flying Doctor Services aims to help junior rural doctors learn to operate across hospitals, general practice and remote health simultaneously.
South Australian opposition leader David Speers has questioned whether the Liberals were ready for his style of leadership as he steps down from the job. Current Deputy John Gardner and Shadow Ministers Josh Teague and Vincent Tarzia have been flagged as potential candidates. A new leader will be chosen at a party meeting on Monday.
An internal investigation is underway to determine how Canberra students who were meant to be given condoms as part of a sexual health information program were instead given ultrasound probe covers. The organisation, Sexual Health and Family Planning ACT, has visited 5 Canberra colleges since January, delivering the products which have similar packaging to condoms but don't provide the same protection. The organisation has apologised for the error.